Hello, everyone. Geoffrey Nance here with you for another Tip Tuesday. So, we are kind of starting a new series, if you will, another set of kind of questions, answers, kind of ideas, tips, whatnot, going in a slightly different direction than what we finished, where we just kind of went through a very practical kind of, hey, let's look at some stuff in the market and kind of go from there. This we're going to kind of veer off from that a bit. Not that we're not going to no longer talk about the market, we are, but we're going to move into a stretch here just has to do more with the things that you're going to encounter, not so much from a technical or fundamental or even a market tone perspective, but just as an individual, right? Because one of the components that we cannot leave out of trading is the fact that there are people behind the decisions. And whether you are a new trader or someone that's been with us for a while, one of the things that you have probably noticed if you've actually made a trade that involved physical money, not just a paper trade, though there's tons of value in paper trade. We spent about 2 or 3 weeks talking about that. But an actual trade, it becomes an emotional event. Um, and I kind of equate it to surprisingly enough, like a relationship, right? So if I were to ask you, hey, what did Salesforce do today? And you're like, I have no idea. Well, you just revealed something to me. You were not in Salesforce today. So you have no money in CRM. So therefore, you you didn't take a look at it. You don't know. It could have been up today. It could have been down today. You don't know. Why? Because you have no connection to it. All right. Now, if I said, all right, you're in a trade here, and let's just say you were in, Macy's today or whatever, and you're like, oh, well, Macy's was down, blah, 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 blah. You tell me why. Well, because you were in that trade. And once you entered into that trade, then there became this kind of emotional connection. I attribute it to like seeing someone on campus. So just imagine, like, you're back in your college, right? So you're at college, you're a guy, you see a girl across the way, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, she catches your eye. All right. And so you're like, huh, I don't remember seeing her before, but it's a Tuesday at 3:30. So, I'm going to Tuesday, Thursday classes. Thursday, I'm going to take the same route. I want to see if maybe she's taking the same route. And then, maybe we'll see what goes from there. Well, now all of a sudden, now she's there again. And you're like, oh, sweet. All right. So now you got to make a decision. All right. So now she's there. She's kind of taking the same route. You're taking the same route. Are you going to go and talk to this individual? And then if you do, and then all of a sudden you're like, all right, so yeah, let's go out on a date. Oh, well, now all of a sudden that relationship has changed, right? So you start dating, and now you're looking for each other. You're like, hey, I see you, yeah, and give each other hugs and whatnot. You're excited because now there's this emotional connection, right? Now you call her up and you're like, hey, we were supposed to meet. I didn't see you. It was it's Tuesday, 3:30. I didn't see you. Where were you today? And she's like, well, I know I took a different route. You're like, take a different route? Who does that? Why would you do that? Like, what's going on here? Like, what that's when we pass each other, we see each other. What's that? This is odd. So now you're sitting out here because you got this emotional connection and you're trying to deal with this thing. And she's kind of wondering if you're becoming a little bit of a stalker here, going, wait, do I have to do your schedule the whole time? Or are you going to freak out if you don't see me? See, before you met her, you're like, hey, I don't even know this person. It doesn't matter to me where she's going. But all of a sudden, once I meet her, once we start talking, once we get into a relationship, well, now when something's a little off, well, I'm invested. So now I'm going to call her up. I'm going to try to figure out what's going on here. I didn't see you today. I'm a little concerned. Why? Because there's this emotional connection. And trading, strangely enough, right, it creates this kind of emotional attachment. And when we put our money into something, we pay more attention to it. And it becomes an emotional thing. Now, God created us with emotions, so emotions are good. But I think all of us understand that we have to be careful how we control our emotions. Jesus says, in your anger, do not sin. He doesn't say you're not going to get angry. He says that when you're angry, don't sin. So the anger is an emotion. Like if I say a funny joke and you laugh, you weren't thinking, if Geoffrey just all of a sudden tells a joke, I'm going to laugh. No, there's a natural response. Something sad happens to you, you might be inclined to cry, right? Something, good happens, you might just smile. All right. So these are emotional responses to a physical situation. Now, trading evokes those emotional responses. So what we have to do as traders is be prepared for that emotional response. And our topic today is like, why do people stop trading? And the number one thing that causes people to stop trading is actually it's a very simple thing, really, right? Let me tell you what it is. They don't make money. That's it. The reason that most people stop trading is not because they wanted to. Like at some point they had a desire and they said, look, I hear about other people, they're making money. Maybe I could too. So something inspired them to either take one of our classes, go to another class, but they did something and they said, I want to trade. Well, why would you stop doing something that you enjoy? The answer is that most of the time you don't stop doing something you enjoy, right? Unless there's some negative consequence to that. So you say, well, Geoffrey, I stopped eating sweets. Why? Did you enjoy it? Yes. Okay. So why did you stop doing something you enjoyed? Because there was a negative consequence. You say, well, I got diabetes. I was overweight. I felt like I needed to lose weight. See, there was a negative consequence associated with this thing that you like. That's why you stopped doing it. Otherwise, you would have continued to do it, because we have a tendency to do what we like. Well, guys, listen, at Tradeway, our desire is for you to enjoy trading. And this might sound simple enough, but the people that enjoy trading the most are the ones that tend to see the most favorable results. Now, there's the educational piece to it, and some people really like the education. They like that piece of it. They just like learning. They like the camaraderie. So there are other elements to it, but ultimately, right, we are not trading just to make trades. We're trading to make money. And so what we want to do is see that account grow. Well, what we're going to spend a couple of weeks doing is talking about the biggest hindrance to seeing your account grow. And that is quite simply, guys, not stopping out. So one of Tradeway's big mantras is we call it win big and lose little. Now, obviously, there is a sense that we want you to win big in the sense that, hey, we want you to make money. We want you to make as much money as you can. But it's a lot of our students, they hear the win big and then they kind of stop there and they miss the whole lose little piece of this. Now, the lose little, guys, is every bit as important as the win big. But when it comes to losing little, we don't even like the word losing, right? And so I know that there's some of our speakers like they don't even like to use that word, because it implies that somehow you had a significant impact on the outcome, right? So unless you're one of these professional traders with millions or billions of dollars, you're probably not going to control what the stock does. So to say that I lost, it brings in this element of like, I was in a game, I could have controlled the outcome, but either because of a decision I made or I didn't make, that my team lost the game, right? So we have that. I was a kicker, right? So kickers, they don't get a lot of respect, but when the game's on the line, right, they're either the hero or they're just like, you stink, everybody hates you, right? So it's one of those positions. It's kind of full of these emotions, because you're either the one that everybody's going to be like cheering your name, or they're going to be like, you stink, I could do better than you. So when I get that sense of what it feels like to be like, hey, I'm in control of a situation, and my winning or my losing is completely dependent upon me. Well, a lot of people take that same approach into trading. Now, are there certain things that we can do that would put us in a position to be more likely to see a trade go a particular way? Absolutely. Three legs of the trading table, right? Fundamentals, technicals, market tone. Yes, we can get those things in our favor. We can trade in more favorable conditions where we feel like we have a good idea of what the overall market is doing and where our individual stocks are going to go based on patterns. That's absolutely the case. But do we control the outcome? No. Now, this is where most people struggle, because they don't really know whether or not that trade is going to continue to move against them, or whether it's going to eventually turn and go their desired direction. So they end up staying in trades. Now, why do they do that, guys? This is a psychological thing. And I've talked to hundreds, if not thousands, of students that have gone through this process. Stopping out requires that you admit that something you thought was going to happen didn't happen. Well, okay, fine. That happens, right? That's life. In fact, it's quite prideful, really, if you think about it, to say, look, every trade I'm going to get in is going to work because I'm just that good at picking stocks. Really? I mean, I take expenses still. I'm pretty good at doing this stuff, understanding what the market's doing. And I have expenses. Plays don't work the way that I think they're going to from time to time. One of the big lessons I've learned, right, that's enabled me to continue to still be a trader is because I haven't run out of money. Okay. Because if you lose big, because you say, Geoffrey, I don't want to stop out because I've already lost money and I don't want to lose even more money. What? Think about the words you're saying. I don't want to have an expense. So now you're going to stay in a trade that's going to end up being a bigger expense because you didn't want to lose money. You've already lost money. It's a question of whether or not you're going to lose more money. So by not stopping out, you're actually defeating your own purpose. Your goal is to make money, but you're like, hey, Geoffrey, I got in this trade. It's not working. I don't want to stop out because I'll lose money. Guys, guess what? If you end up stopping out anyway, but it's moved further against you, then you've lost even more money. So you say, Geoffrey, is this an issue then of discipline? Should I just be a more disciplined trader? Okay. Well, we do talk a lot about the necessary impact of having a plan and then sticking to your plan, right? So Jared, one of our teachers, says this. He guys, trade. You have to have a plan and trade your plan. Okay, something like that. So you got to have a plan in order to trade the plan. All right. So is it a matter of discipline? So I should have gone into a trade and we say, know your exit points. Well, that's where I'm going to enter and where I'm going to exit. So that exit is a sell point if it hits my desired target price, but it's also a stop out price if it moves against me. I'm supposed to have those two things in place before I even enter that trade. Why would I do that? Because before I enter a trade, it's not emotional. I'm not attached to it. But once I'm in it, now all of a sudden I'm like, I'm watching that thing. I'm trying to see what it's doing. I'm committed to it. There's an emotional connection there. But prior to that, again, it doesn't matter. What did Google do today? Well, if you weren't in it, you probably don't even know, right? You'd have to go look it up. Why? Because there's no emotional attachment. You're not in that trade. So before we enter into that emotional attachment, we need to set the boundaries. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm not going to do. So people think stopping out is about discipline. Well, one of our speakers several years ago presented it in a very different way. And I think this is going to hit home to some of you in a very meaningful way, because I saw stopping out as discipline. I'm like, hey, I need to be more disciplined. It's like, right, I need to eat better. I need to work out more. I need to go run more, etc. Right? That's discipline, right? I got to be disciplined to do it. I got to show up at the gym, then I got to work out while I'm there. And we just think, well, I can put that off because, maybe it matters, maybe it doesn't. But stopping out, he said, is not so much about discipline as it is about integrity. Integrity. Well, integrity means that I do what I say I'm going to do. Well, listen, guys, if I had a plan that said I would stop out if the stock hits this point, and then I don't do that, it really is showing that I lack integrity, because I said I was going to do it, but now I'm not. So what's changed? I've thought, oh, it's just discipline, right? I'll just stop out because it might do this. It still might turn around. Now, see, if I think it's about discipline, that changes things. When I start to think, man, this is about integrity, Geoffrey, you're not following your own plan. You're not going to reach your goals if you don't trade your plan. So yes, there's emotions involved here, but there's also integrity involved here. If you said you're going to stop out when it reached that point, then be a person of honor and honesty and stop it out. It may keep going down. It should. It may turn on you. But the point is that you in order to be a long-term trader, that someone who doesn't quit trading, you need to hold on to your money, right? You can't be afraid of risk. We talk plenty about that. We have to be willing to take risks. Christians have taken risk for centuries. Okay. It's fine to take risk, but they need to be educated risk. And if we have a plan, we need to be dedicated to that plan. And we need to be a people of integrity that say, you know what, if I really want to trade, and then let's start thinking about our why. Why did I become a trader? Why did I go through these classes? What were my goals? What was I wanting to do with this stuff? Who was I wanting to bless? Then if that stuff is our why, then our why needs to be more important than our pride. Because if not, pride comes before destruction. And I don't want you guys to destroy your accounts. You don't either. Okay. So let's put pride aside and realize that if I want to be a trader for the long term, and I don't want to be a quitter, right? Someone who just runs out of money and has to quit trading, or I don't see the results that I want and I quit trading. I don't want you to be that kind of person. So one of the best things that you can do is to commit to stopping out when a trade doesn't do what you expected it to do. Evaluate it, learn from it, get a coach to see some things that maybe you don't see, but stop out. Be committed to the stop out, guys. And if you're not, it could lead to a place that you don't want to go. I don't want you to go there, right? I want you to trade, and I want you to trade for a long time. I want you to pass it down to your kids, down to your grandkids. But if you stop, it makes it that much harder for them to pick it up. That's our tip for today, guys. Be willing to stop out because you want to endure for the long haul. We'll see you next time.